Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the weekly Thursday training call. We're going to start in just a moment here, but if you guys do have questions that you'd like addressed, please type them into the questions area of your GoToMeeting toolbar. And as I see those come in on my other screen, I will do my best to respond to those for you. And it looks like we already have one from Harlow, so we'll address that one first. He asks, what are the best practices when trying to move forward with a realtor that you've not been doing business with previously? So, great question, Harlow. There's probably quite a few answers for that. I'm going to try and answer it just from the technical side of what you would do with the software. But generally, it kind of depends on what you've been doing so far. Have you contacted this realtor? Have you actually already had any kind of correspondence with them? Um, and I'll answer it two ways. So we'll start with first, if you haven't had any correspondence with them at all. This is just somebody that you've found that you want to try and develop a relationship, and you're just not sure where to start on it. I would tell you the first thing to do is start an open house flyer. Find one of his listings on Realtor.com, on any kind of a site, Redfin, anywhere there's listings. You're going to find a listing that he's sponsoring, and you're going to create an open house flyer for him and do it centered around that listing, but don't create it as, hey, this is a flyer that I can print out for your listing. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to create it as an introduction of yourself to the realtor. So we actually did a call on this not too long ago. It was called How to Build Your Realtor Prospect Packet. And it was just basically a bunch of different types of presentations that you want to kind of have in your back pocket for when you're visiting a realtor or for when you're courting new ones. So I would encourage you to look at that one as well, Harlow, when you get the chance. Just go to the help menu here and I'll see if I can show you what I mean. Let's go to our coaching call archive. And I'm going to do a quick search for prospect. Okay, so it's right here. It's done in August 2013. This was a Thursday training covering how to create a realtor prospect packet. It goes over all the details of what my recommendations would be on creating the initial presentations that you want to send out to start courting this realtor partner. But I'll give it to you in a nutshell right now. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to build an open house flyer. And as I said before, you're not doing it because you want to put this out on a table at their open house. You're doing this because you want to show them the capabilities of what you can do with your partnership with them. So once you've created the open house flyer, again, you're going to pull that listing information off of realtor.com or Redfin or any of the listing sites, and you're going to populate as much as you can into it. Make sure to get a good picture of it. You guys know how to do that. You can right click on any image and hit save as, and you can save that image. And once you've got your open house prepared, it's time for the video. The video is going to be the most important part of that step towards the realtor partner. So when you're creating this video, you're going to start off basically by introducing yourself, your practice, what you do, and you're going to state the reason you're contacting this realtor. Obviously, the underlying reason is, hey, I want to do business with you. And it's okay to come out and just say that. That's fine. And I mean, the more transparency, the better. But you want to make sure that the idea behind you and how you work with your clients is that you're an educator and you provide an education that other people cannot provide because all they're doing is putting out a fee worksheet. You educate your clients on what the long-term impacts are on each type of loan that they're potentially going to get into. So when you're doing this video for the realtor partner, you're going to explain your position as an educator. And you're going to explain that you can also offer this education to his clients. Now, that being said, you also want to let him know that the technology you're using can be used to produce open house flyers for him. And you're going to show him, you're going to point out the co-branding. You can see I've got your information here on this co-branded presentation. You're going to let him know that it can be shared across social media. And then your next step is you want to give him a reason to want to educate his clients. So a question usually works really well. Ask him something like, are you finding that your clients aren't getting the education they need? Are they having other questions that maybe their originators aren't answering for them, or questions that you don't feel comfortable answering, on the financing end? If you're finding that, send them to me. We'll talk to them together. We'll make sure that they get everything they need to make an educated mortgage decision. Now, coupled with that video, now of course, when you're doing the video, you've already talked about who you are, what kind of practice you have as an educator, what you can offer to this partner in, you know, your mutual client's education. then you're going to call to action. I mean, very simply, I want to help your clients and I know you can help mine. So give me a call as soon as you finish watching this video so we can discuss our next steps. It doesn't have to be long. It can, really a minute long video would probably suffice in this case. But the second part of this whole equation is you want to also send them a total cost analysis. Even a sample total cost analysis could be a cost of waiting. Maybe it's even a rent versus own if you want, just whatever you feel comfortable with and you can explain to a T. You want to create a report based on sample client data and you want to put a video on there. And what you're doing is you're talking to this sample client on the video, but you're also cross selling that realtor partner. And the whole reason you're doing this is that when you send over this packet of two links to your prospective realtor partner, the first one is introducing you and what you can do and calling to action. The second one is showing your realtor partner what kind of detail you provide for your clients so that they understand what you'd be doing for their mutual clients. You're talking to Sammy Sample. Hi, Mr. Borrower. I've got three different loan options that I know you were considering. You had talked about an FHA program because of the low down payment, but I wanted to make you aware that there's other options for not having mortgage insurance, and they can actually impact you pretty greatly over the long run. And you don't have to say much more than that. You're just going to give a very cursory overview on the products that you're talking about or the strategy that you're talking about. Then at that point, you're going to cross sell that realtor partner again. I talked with Joe Realtor about this, and the houses you were looking at, they're falling, within the perfect price range for an FHA. But there's also another option where you can go with a conventional 5% down and avoid MI entirely. Something like that. Doesn't have to be a real situation at all. It can be something you completely make up. But the idea is that you want the realtor partner to know what kind of advice you're going to deliver. And you want them to see that you are cross selling them the entire way through the process. Now, another part of this is when you're doing your realtor video, the one directed at the realtor, you want to let them know that this video can be updated throughout the entire loan process and that you can copy them in on everything via emails and even giving them alerts when the presentation is getting viewed. So if you guys got a chance to watch our success strategies training yesterday, one of the things that Jeremy was talking about is keeping the realtor involved on every level, but also more than that, and sorry, my screen just went dead. Okay, there we go. Shouldn't happen again. But also more than just keeping the realtor in there at every level, updating with video at every level. So when you start, to your client and you're copying in your realtor partner and you're explaining just the basic options about the TCA and you're telling them you want to get on the phone with them so you can talk about it a little bit more. Maybe you even get them doing an Edge Live. Very cool. But you also want to understand that when the next step in the process happens, say for instance, you haven't even run credit yet. When you run credit, when you actually get the application in, put another video on that same file. Just overwrite the original and talk to the client about, hey, we ran your credit. We found that you have excellent credit and you're going to qualify for this type of program. Here's your next steps on what you should be getting together. I'm going to need some bank statements from you. I'm going to need a letter of explanation for this one mark on your credit rating, whatever it is that the underwriter told you need. And then as you continue going through the process, when they're submitting those to you, you got the bank statements, you got the 1040, whatever you needed. When you get those, you're going to put a video out again. Hey, thanks, Mr. Client. We got those forms in. It looks like we're good to go on those different requirements that the underwriter was asking for. Now we're just looking at when should we lock this rate in, and you're going to start talking about your expertise as a market watcher, because you guys do. You have Rate Watch. It's available for you. You get the best advice around on what to do. And the whole point of this is each time there's a change in this loan scenario, each time there's something new added to the mix, whether it's there's a new condition that the underwriter added, or you were able to get the lock, or maybe you locked too early and you were able to get the lock revised, whatever it is, put another video on it and copy the realtor in, because every time you do that, the realtor gets a little bit more information on how you work with their clients. And it's just going to give them that extra comfort level that says, my clients need this too. So let's do this. Let's go forward with it. So to give you kind of a recap there, Harlow, that was a great question, and it's a big answer. So I would say you're going to create two reports. One is going to be the open house flyer. One is going to be a total cost analysis. The open house flyer will be aimed at the realtor partner, and this is This is your original introduction to them. You're introducing yourself. You're talking about what you do. You're talking about how you can educate mutual clients. You're talking about the software that you're using and how you can put video on it through every step of the process, how you can copy that realtor in, and how you can make sure that they're CC'd on all the emails as well. Now, when you're done with that video, you're going to create a second presentation. That's the total cost analysis. It will not be co-branded, obviously, because co-branding only happens on the open house side. But when you create that total cost analysis, you're aiming it at a sample borrower and you're talking to them exactly as if you would to one of your borrowers. And you're cross-selling your realtor partner during that presentation. You're going to take both of those links that you created and you're going to shoot those over to your realtor partner. And if you watch yesterday's training, we showed you how to mask a link. Pretty important to know how to do that just because it changes the overall appearance of the way your emails look. And it definitely helps get a little bit better click-through rate. So the email that you should be sending out to your realtor partner, that's a little bit different question. When you're talking about how do I write an email that's actually going to resonate with somebody, keep it simple. Don't put too much in an email. Don't talk about how nice of a day it is. Don't talk about how, you value their commitment to excellence because you don't even know them yet. The fact is you're courting them for business. So what you know is what you can do. So you're talking about, hi, I'm Harlow Sharp and I found your listing online. I noticed it's been there for, a couple of weeks here, and I wanted to introduce you to what I'm doing with my clients to make sure that they get educated through the entire loan process and see if you might find that appealing for your clients as well. It doesn't have to be that long. Give it a good call to action at the end. You'll have your video links in there as well. Please take a look at the following two videos that I created specially for you. One of them is just introducing myself and the type of software that I can provide for you. And the other one is a sample of what I do for my borrowers. Check these out as soon as possible and call me so we can talk about what we can do going forward to make sure that the American dream still lives on. It's okay to use words like that, but just don't trip on it too much. Keep it short, keep it simple. And if you've sent them one email already and they're not responding, try picking up the phone next time. Just mix it up a little bit here and there. Don't send them the same email over and over again, obviously, because it's just going to go to junk. But all right, with that said, so hopefully, Harlow, I know that was a long answer to a very big question. Let me know if you need a little bit more clarity on that. I would also, like I said, I would encourage you to watch this one, the 2013 815 call, creating the Realtor Prospect Packet. It goes through all the nuts and bolts, all the details of both of those presentations so that you get a full idea on what we would recommend there. All right. So with that said, I don't see any other questions in the box right now. I think we'll go ahead and just start doing some basic total cost analyses. We haven't done the cost of waiting in a little while, so I think we're going to go ahead and do that. So for those of you who are brand new to these calls, we do answer questions in real time for you. So if you have questions, type them into the questions area. I'm monitoring those on my other lap or on my other monitor here, and as I see those come in, I'll make sure to answer them for you. So brand new users, if you've never created a cost of waiting, you would do this by doing a new client inside Edge. So I'm going to click on new client and I'm going to make this a marketing report. Now the difference between a marketing report versus an individual report is that, as you can see with the individual, we're asking for a first, middle, last name. With a marketing report, we're not. We're allowing you to just put a headline there. Now, the other thing about individual versus marketing is if it's a marketing report, we actually pull off the property information. So that won't show on the report at all. So we're going to call this the cost of waiting to buy. And you can do this either as a rent versus own, or you can do it as a total cost. For today's discussion, I'm going to do it as a total cost. So I'm actually going to leave own selected because I don't want to be walked through a rent versus own. So even if they don't own a home, they're first time home buyer, it's okay. Leave it at own here. And then for my partner email, this is where I'm going to enter my realtor partner's email. So that maybe that person I'm courting, hey, I copied you in on an email that I've got going out to one of my real clients here. I'd like you to see what happens during the transaction. But if you're just testing this out to see how it works, try putting your email in here. You're going to get a second copy of any alerts that go out, but you'll at least see the workflow inside of Edge. So I put partner@partner.com. Now, friendly name, this is actually really important, and I see a lot of people skipping this, and it causes headaches. The friendly name is your nickname for your report. This is what you're calling this report. Now, if this was not a marketing report and it just had a borrower name on it, I'd have no idea what type of report this is. Now, because I made it a marketing report, my title really does sell it all. I mean, there's nothing really left to call this one, but I am going to put in, I'll put, let's see, co-branded with Joe Realtor for video. Oops, there we go. And the reason I'm putting that in there is because if I make multiple presentations with this same name, at least I'll know when I go into my view all list exactly what this is for. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm gonna go back home for a second here. I'll go view all, and I'm gonna go down and find that cost of waiting. So there it is, and you can see when I hit the drop down, it shows my friendly name right there. Now, if I didn't have a friendly name, all it would show is a date and timestamp, and I wouldn't really know who this is for until I actually got into it and checked on it. But at this point, I can see at a glance exactly what this is. So you can see I've got another one here that just has a friendly name of cost of waiting. I have no idea who the realtor partner was on this one. All right, so let's get back into our cost of waiting. Now the goals section, because we are doing a purchase, we want to check the purchase goal. And you can actually check any of the goals that you want, but the one that actually has logic behind it is the purchase goal. This one eliminates questions about a current mortgage and just focuses on new purchase transactions versus trying to do a refi. There's only one required field on this page, and that's the purchase price and property value. And if you don't fill out this field, because it's in red, it's going to cause an exclamation point to happen down here at the bottom. So make sure anytime you see a field in red, put something in there. Um, the reason to put it in here, actually, let's say it's a $350,000 house, is that when you start going through the rest of the products in the wizard, it's automatically going to pull in that property value for you. So if you're doing 4 products, you've saved 4 data entry points by putting it in one spot. Now I'm going to avoid the other questions because I'm not doing refinance. That's why they're not required. And I get to my affordability section. Now, this is a marketing report, so there's no specific borrower information that I have on this, but if I do want to show a tax benefit on this presentation, I have to make sure to enter a tax bracket. So generally, I would either pick 25 or 28%. That seems to be a pretty good median for wherever you're at. Um, let's call it 25%. And if you wanted to just see what the tax brackets look like, you can hit Find Tax Bracket. It's going to open up a page for you. And you can see 25% bracket here for single people is between 36.9 and 89,350. So that's a really wide range. So that's why I tend to use 25% the most. If you're targeting larger properties, however, and I know Harlow, you're over in Brentwood, so you're probably going to go with a much higher rate because you know that your average incomes over there are substantially higher. All right, so for my discussion here, I'm going to use a 25% tax bracket. And then the minimums and maximums, I'm not actually collecting this from a borrower, so I'm going to completely bypass that one and get straight into my products. Now, when you're doing a cost of waiting, it's up to you in terms of what kind of products you want to offer. So for instance, if you are offering FHA loans, you're going to keep it FHA across the board. And the reason is because this particular presentation is showing them the different effects of what can happen to one type of loan product. Now, for today, I'm going to do a 10% down conventional. So I'm going to call it 10% down conventional. And notice that I abbreviate quite a bit. And the reason, if you hover over this, you'll see that if you're gonna actually print this report out at any time, be aware that if you have more than 12 characters in the product names, you can actually push some of the information out of print view. So the live version of the presentation, you can put very long product names and it's not going to cause you any issues. However, if you do expect it to be printed or PDF'd, just keep that in mind. You probably want to shorten your product names. Now, especially on an open house flyer, keep those really short. You know it's going to be printed. Total cost will likely not get printed. If you're doing it right, you're sending them the live link with the video. They're passing that link around rather than passing a print job around. All right, so this is my 10% conventional. This is not a refi, so I'm going to leave it at no. And this is not an FHA program, so I'll leave that at no. Now you have the option of entering the down payment either as a dollar amount or a percentage. So I'm going to enter this as a percentage. You can toggle between those by clicking on this button right here. and I'll put in my 10%. Ooh, that's a lot. Let's try that again. There we go. And then we'll put in the interest rate. So what can we get on a 10% down conventional at 350? Well, let's say I can get about 4.625. And my term on this one, 360 months. Make sure to enter those as months. This is a fixed loan. There's no interest only period or balloon period, so I'm going to let those go and just go to the next screen. Now I need to enter my closing costs. Now you can do this either as ballpark fees, meaning you just literally enter in an estimate of what you think this is going to cost. And quite frankly, guys, this is all pre-GFE, and this is a marketing presentation. So as long as you disclose that, these are all estimates, you're fine doing this. It's really not that critical. Just make sure that you've got your payment notes in there, and I'll show you that when we get to the end of the presentation. And you probably want to make sure your disclaimer says something about this being estimates. Especially the closing costs and the monthly escrows if you don't know them. On a marketing report, we have no idea what their property taxes are going to be. We have no idea what their hazard insurance is going to be. So we're estimating those. We need to just make sure to disclose that at the end of the presentation. So as I said, you can do these as ballpark figures, and it's perfectly acceptable. If you already have templates set up, however, you can actually itemize these by going to the closing cost detail. And if you do have templates, they'll be listed right here, and you can pull in whatever template you want. Now, for today's discussion, I'm going to assume I don't have a template and I still want to itemize. So how do I do that? The best way is actually print out a fee worksheet from your loan origination software so that you can basically copy it over here. Now, when you're talking about a marketing presentation, you're probably just going to add a bunch of fees. So you can see I've add fee over and over again. And then I'm going to earmark the ones that I know I'm going to charge. There's going to be loan origination. There's going to be an appraisal. There's going to be credit. And you can see we've recently added quite a few new fees in here. So we had a lot of people saying that, hey, I've got a custom fee that I have to keep creating over and over again. Well, it's in here now. So if we've got something like 70 fees now. So after my credit report, let's say I'm going to have owner's title. I'm going to have lender's title. I'll have a notary. Let's see, maybe tax stamps or something like that, tax service fee. And let's do our hazard insurance reserves. And then we'll add one more fee and do our tax reserves. So then my next step here is to fill out the figures for what these are. So in this one, let's say it's about $2,800. That is an APR fee because it's loan origination. Appraisal, let's say it's about $650. That is a non-APR fee, so I'm not going to check the box here. Credit report, about 25 bucks. Owner's title, let's say $250. Lender's title, $400. Notary fees, probably about 100 bucks. Oops, too much. There we go. And then reserves, you don't know when this is going to close, so you really don't know exactly how many months of reserves they're going to need on this particular one. So it's okay to just guess at it. I mean, it's really, we're probably looking at 3 months of hazard insurance reserves and maybe 2 months of taxes reserves. So since we don't know what our monthly escrows are yet, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do 300 and 450. Now, notice that those are the only ones that have this PPE checkbox checked. What this means is this is just prepaid escrows. These are your reserves. The only time you don't check this box on a reserve is mortgage insurance reserves because those are actually an APR fee. All right, so I've got all of my fees listed and everything looks good. You want to check and see if maybe notary fee might be an APR fee for you. Most times it's not. However, check with your compliance department. They'll know that for sure. Or just take a look at your fee worksheet. It'll tell you whether it's an APR fee. Now, once you're done entering those, if you don't have any templates yet, save this as a template so you can use it again. So to do that, click on the Save as Template button. And I'm going to call this one conventional 10%. And if you want to make this available only in certain states or in a certain state, you would select that state from the drop down here. If you want it to be available for all states, just leave the state empty. So usually I would tell you to leave the state empty. Now, there are some caveats to that rule. There's certain states where they have completely different closing costs. Those ones you probably would want to choose the state for that. And in that case, what happens is if you do choose a state, and you want to use it next time, you have to make sure to choose that state from this drop down here. and then only the templates that are part of that state will appear in your drop down over on the right. But I left it blank because I want this to be available no matter what state I'm working on. I can always customize the individual fees if I need to. So I've saved it as a template. Last step is apply it to the loan. And you can see now that I've done that, it's grayed out quite a few of these fields. The APR costs, you can see they're grayed out because these are actually pulling the APR costs that were in my closing cost detail. My prepaid interest days are editable. So usually I would say just choose 15. It tends to be kind of standard prepaid interest days there. It's already filled out my prepaid escrows. It's filled out my non-APR costs. And if I had any contributions, it would show them here. And usually we're going to ask the seller to pay the owner's title. So I marked that as seller, and you can see that it now shows a seller paid item of $250. When I apply that to loan, you can see there's now a contribution of $250. All right, so I've got my fees in there. I'm going to hit the right arrow, enter my escrows. And then there is going to be mortgage insurance on this one because it is a 10% down. You could actually position this as a single premium buyout if you want, where there would be no MI, but you'd have to call for that single premium at close. For today's discussion, I'm just going to do a 90% borrower paid MI. So we'll get our maybe a 0.9 factor. And again, you'll want to check on what your mortgage insurance companies have for their ratios on these. I know Radian is right around 0.95 or something like that. UG, I think the last one I saw was 0.92, but you want to check your guidelines just to make sure what it is relative to this LTV. Now, for conventional loans, we don't need to do a whole lot with the cutoffs for the MI. It just basically has to cut off at 78% loan to value. So we're not going to check the Calc MI on balance box. That's only for government loans. And we're not going to put an MI cutoff month because this is actually the minimum number of months the MI would have to run. So in a case like an FHA loan, it needs to run for the life of the loan. So we'd actually put a 360 there. For conventional, we're going to leave this part blank. Now I've got my 10% down conventional in there. It's ready to roll. Now I need to compose the other products that I'm comparing against. So I'm going to hit add another product. Now for this one, I'm going to use the copy button so I don't have to redo all that legwork. I'm going to hit copy from, and I'm going to copy that 10% down conventional. And you can see it brought it over exactly the same way as it was before. Now, for a cost of waiting presentation, you have an option on how much you'd like to show. You certainly don't have to show all 4 options like I'm going to show today. You can show 2 options. And in fact, if you were on the coaching call on Tuesday, you heard actually a couple of people come on and say, look, when I present these, I'm only showing 2 options. I try and keep it simple for my borrowers. And it's a great practice. You got to gauge your borrowers and try and figure out who really wants all that information and who is just going to be happier with just the 2 products to look at. Sometimes it can be a little confusing to have more than that. For today's discussion, I'm going to show you all 4 products here. You can cherry pick and choose the ones you want to use. So my second product is going to be called Wait for Drop. And what this is assuming is this is saying, okay, Mr. Client, product 1 is our 10% down conventional as we can get right now. Product 2 is going to be what happens if you wait for a couple of months for a price drop. So what we'll do is we'll reduce the price. Let's say it actually did drop. And this might be one of the ones you don't want to use because your market is probably increasing right now. It's probably appreciating rather than dropping. So you're getting more bidding wars than you are price drops. So this would be one where kind of market sensitive. So I'll drop our price to 340, but in that same time that we waited 2 months for a price drop, this rate can potentially go up pretty significantly. So I'm going to use a full point. So I'm going to change this to 5.625. So they waited for the drop. The price did drop, but the rate went up because they waited. Now the next one, because I copied everything carries forward. I don't need to make any adjustments on my closing costs, and my other factors came in with it, so I don't need to do anything there. I'm just going to add another product. Let's use that copy from button again, and I'm going to copy that 10% down conventional. And this one I'm calling no drop. This one is the same thing as they waited for a price drop, but they waited 2 months, the price didn't drop, and the rate went up. So I've already copied from, so I'm going to leave the price the same. The price did not drop, but that 2 months of waiting, rate went way up. Now let's add one more product. This one is going to be worst case. And I'm going to copy that original again. And this is what happens if they waited for the couple of months for a price drop, but the price actually went up and the rates went up. So I'm going to raise this up to 360. And I'm going to pull this up to 5.65. Now you can see that this gives me this cool cascading effect if you do it in this order. But it's up to you. Like I said, you can cherry pick the ones you want. You may not want to show the wait for drop because it's not realistic. Prices aren't dropping right now. So maybe I want to show just the 10% down conventional versus the no drop and the worst case. Maybe I just want to show best versus worst. Either one works great. I've seen major success out of both options or showing all four. Completely up to you. The reason I like to show all four is I like to be able to change these benchmarks around when I'm talking to the client on the phone. So once I've actually given them this presentation and they've viewed it, I'm going to change this around to benchmark everything against the 10% down. And look what's happened. Now, this one is the benchmark of comparison, which means everything else is showing a negative savings as compared to buying now. Now, what this does is this changes the presentation. You're not showing them how much they can save by buying now. You're now showing them how much it's going to cost them if they wait for one of these other options. And I like to do this after they've already seen the original. So once you get that alert notification that says your borrower has viewed your presentation, then go back in there, try and get them on the phone if you can. That would be the best way to do it. If you can get them on the phone, try and do this while they're actually viewing the presentation. Have them click on your link and then come in here to your analysis screen, change the benchmarks around, and then hit the right arrow. What's going to happen is the live link that they're looking at is going to update within a few seconds, and it's going to flip those charts upside down for them. And now you can have that discussion about pain points instead of, well, this is how much I can save you. It's, wait, let's talk about a different story here. This is how much it's going to cost you to wait. Let's not wait. Now you can do the same thing on the lower left quadrant of this report, and you can see that if I change that one, we get lots of red going forward. Over the 5-year period of time, it's going to cost you 10 grand if you just waited 2 months and the rates went up. If you waited and rates went up and no drop, it's going to cost you almost 12 grand. The worst case scenario, it's going to cost you almost 14 grand over this 5-year period of time. Now, it's critical that you understand what this lower left section is. This is not monthly savings multiplied by 60. You can see that those figures would just not work. Instead, what we do is we compare the total interest, MI, and closing costs for each one of these loan products. And when compared against each other, these are the differences in those specific things: interest, MI, and closing costs. We don't factor in the principal because the principal is retained in the form of equity. We're not looking at the taxes and insurance. We're really just looking at interest, MI, and closing costs. Those are the ones that they're not getting any return on. And I'll show you that again once we get to the live version of the presentation. Now, for the final step here is, what do you show for the long term? And I would actually probably show an appreciation here because I saw a report yesterday that says 3.4 is actually the anticipated appreciation over the next 10 years. So I'm comfortable using 3%. Now you can see that right now I've got total interest in MI paid, and this really does make a lot of sense. If you buy now, you're only going to pay this much. As we go forward to the worst case, you're going to pay substantially more. Now, I would not recommend that you choose net worth. And I'm sure you can see why here. The net worth on the best and worst case are almost exactly the same. So let's look at principal paid. You can see you're paying the most principal on this one. Let me kill Skype, sorry. Okay, so you're paying the most principal on this one, and obviously you're paying less principal, but this really doesn't resonate with the client. They kind of don't care how much principal they've paid. They're really, if they're considering principal at all, they're considering it in the form of an equity position, not really of how much principal has gone out of my pocket. So what I would tell you is total interest in MI, this is the way to go. So then I'm going to hit the right arrow, and I don't need to fill out anything on this part of the report because this is a marketing report. This would all get hidden anyway. Last step, payment notes. Very, very important. Okay, so there's one part covered. I've covered my taxes and insurance part. Something like that is also pretty helpful. Closing costs are estimates, and I would say estimates only, and may change depending on qualification. You could word it however you like, but cover those two items. Make sure you let them know whether taxes and insurance are included, and make sure you let them know that closing costs are estimated. With those two, you're compliant on your marketing report. That's really the key part. Now, at this point, you actually have the option. If I don't want to show that wait for drop, I can just uncheck it right here. And my report, my output report, will only have these last three. I'm going to leave it on there for now, though, because I do want you to see what that finalized report looks like. Now, if you've got additional verbiage that you have in here that maybe you need to edit, you can edit this. And this actually appears behind the more info sections on the live report. So when they hit more info and they see the breakdown, there's also going to be a little bit of verbiage under that. That's where this is. So I'll show you that when we get to the live report. Now, when you're about ready to prepare this one, make sure to check the box to send an Edge View alert to your partner. You'll only get this checkbox if you fill in that partner email on the first screen. So make sure to fill that in. If you are going to use the click to call button, which on a marketing report, this would be a great chance to use it. You can enable the call button, and you definitely want to be notified when this report is viewed. The last step, make sure there's a quote date on it. Anytime you put a rate out there, whether it's on your webpage or even in an email, you know that this can be, the borrower can hang on to this for a while. And if they come back to you 2 months later and say, hey, you quoted me 3.75, I've got it in writing right here, what's the deal? And you don't have a date tied to that, that could be problematic for you. So just make sure you always tie a date to anything that you put out. Last step, generate the link. Now, once you've got your link, I always recommend copy it, paste it into a new browser tab, just so you can see what it looks like. This is what your end user is going to see when they open your presentation. So you should really know what they're going to see. So here's my payment notes. You can see that's right up there at the top. And they do have a double asterisk next to them, which of course ties to the double asterisk right here next to each payment. Now, when we're looking at our charts here, this is exactly what we were seeing in our analysis screen. Now, remember I said we can flip these back and forth at will. So if I'm the borrower and I'm viewing this presentation, and here's the originator going back into the analysis screen and changing the benchmarks back, this should give you an idea of how long it takes to adjust. So I've made that change. I hit the right arrow to save it, and it takes just a few seconds. There it goes. It's automatically updated the live version of the presentation. So this should trigger a couple of bells for you new users. This means that you only need to send the link once. The link is dynamic, so it's going to update with whatever you have inside Edge. So if I wanted to go in and remove that product that I wasn't sure about showing, that wait for drop, I'm going to hit that checkbox. I'm going to untick it, hit the right arrow, and that right arrow triggers a save. So within about 3 to 5 seconds, we're going to see that this is only going to have 3 products on it. There we go. So now we've got 3 products. So keep this in mind as you're talking to your clients and as you're sending these links out. They're dynamic. They're going to adjust for you almost in real time, pretty darn close. So if you need to add and remove products, you can do that at any time and just tell the client to click on the link again. And the great thing is you should be urging people to download the mobile app. Try clicking the link on your mobile device. It's going to prompt you to go straight over to the correct app store. If you're on iOS, it's going to take you to the Apple Store. If you're on Android, it's going to take you to the Google Play Store to download the app. But once they've got the app on their device, anytime they click on your link, it's automatically going to pipe in your version of the report. So whatever's most current of your report is going to pipe into their mobile device. So now they can see any updates that you make, even video updates. They can see these on the mobile device. So you don't have to wait for them to get back to a computer to be able to view this anymore. All right, so as I said, there's one thing I missed on this one, and that is creating a video. So once I've generated the link, there's a button in the bottom of that screen that says Add Audio Video. So I'm going to click on that guy, and you'll see that this brings up a preview of my presentation. Now, the difference between this one and the one that I did by simply pasting the link into the browser bar is on the video recording window, you can see I've got a record message button. I've also got a clear all button. Now, the clear all button is because I can highlight this report. So if I wanted to highlight, let's say, the differences in our monthly payment, I can highlight those. And if I jump over to the borrower version of the report, you can see that those are highlighted on his end. And that is actually, it acts a lot faster when you're doing this type of highlighting and pop out than it does when you go in and adjust something like a rate or remove a product. These ones are much faster when you're doing the highlighting. So I'll jump back over to my video screen. I know you can't really see the difference between these, but in order to do your video, you got to do some basic setup. Make sure you got a webcam plugged in, and then just right click anywhere on the screen here and hit settings. And the two things that you should be most concerned with are these last two tabs on the right. Make sure you've got the appropriate microphone set up. And you can see I've got lots of mics on here, so I have to choose the right one to make sure it works. And then make sure you've got the right webcam selected as well. And I've got this LifeCam VX2000. I don't have any others on there, so this is the correct one. If you're on a laptop and you have a built-in mic and webcam, your webcam will probably be, it'll say webcam, so you'll be able to identify it. But your mic, you might see two of them in there. You might see one that's the microphone and one called microphone array. Always choose the one called microphone array. That's the one that's going to give you the best results when recording from a laptop with a built-in mic. Now, once you've got those set up, it's time to record a message on it. Now, this is a cost of waiting presentation, and we could structure this exactly like what we were talking about early on, where this is a sample that would go out to our clients. We could structure this as something that would cross-sell our realtor partner. Now, especially if you expect this to get shared, you want to keep that connection with the partner all the way through, because as it gets passed around, people that click on it they might not even know you. They might not know the realtor partner. They just happen to know the borrower who's asking for somebody else to take a look at it, or hey, look at this cool stuff that my loan guy just sent over. Can you believe this? And it may be that simple, but if you don't include the realtor partner in your videos and you don't include them in the correspondence, you lose out on that chance to get them involved in one more step, which means when they're doing it on their end, they might forget to include you on one step. When they see you doing this for them, it's immediate reciprocation. They know that you're handling all your clients this way, and it changes the way they act with their clients. Pretty soon, hey, I've got an originator who he's an ace in my pocket. The guy is so good, you're not going to believe what he can do for you. Here, check this out. I've got a sample report on my phone right now that he sent to one of my other clients. You want one of these for yourself? I'll call him right now. It's very simple, but you're doing the same thing for them during the video. They're going to be doing that for you out on the street. All right, so recording the video. Hit record message, and there we are. Hi, everybody. Some quick tips on video recording, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but check your lighting behind you. Make sure you don't have any, giant bay window behind you with a bunch of sun flooding in. It's going to turn you white as snow. Make sure you don't have your phone ringer on. Turn off any notifications. Like you saw, I had Skype on a moment ago, and that was quite distracting. It'd be even far more distracting if I was trying to record a video. Make sure that you lock your door, or just put a note on it or something. Let everybody know, hey, I'm recording right now. Don't bug me. You also want to make sure not only is your phone ringer off, but put your desk phone on do not disturb. I forget to do that on occasion. That can be particularly annoying. And then beyond that, I would say, keep eye contact with the camera. That's the most critical part of recording a video, but don't stress it too much. What you're looking for is you're just looking to get a couple of points across. You're looking to introduce yourself. You're looking to cover the topics that we discussed earlier. But if you have to constantly glance down at your report to try and talk about what you're going over, it's not gonna be very effective. So number one tip, take a little sticky pad. Let me see if I can find one here. There we go. Take one of these guys and stick it up right behind your webcam and write your bullet points on it. That way you're constantly looking at the webcam. So if you lose your place or something, you can refer to the bullet point that's sitting there right next to your webcam. You don't have to lose eye contact anymore. All right, so when you're ready to record, what I like to do is I like to pull this up to the top of my screen, and that's just because I feel like I'm talking to myself. I got my webcam on top of my camera, but also it's because if I want to look down and check on something while I'm recording, it's not too much, I'm not looking down too far to have to do it. But one of the cool things is this record button right here works as a start and stop button. So you don't have to look away. You can start recording, and you can see it does start recording. And as long as you don't move your mouse, you can just click it again and it'll stop. And I didn't have to didn't have to lose eye contact with the camera to try and look around for a stop button. All right. So that being said, if you don't want the video, you think it was, something you need to re-record, you can always record again and it'll actually just write straight over the top of it. If you ever just needed to go in and remove a video from a presentation, maybe, you've sent out the original video and the client's good to go and you don't need any more video correspondence right now, you can come back into this video recording window just like we are and hit the little trash can button here. And it's going to ask you if you want to delete it. You hit yes, and it's a goner. There's no longer a video attached to this report. Now, I will tell you that best practice is not deleting videos, it's record a new one. And the reason I say that, there's two reasons for this. One is you're continuing that process with the video. Every step in the loan process, you're letting not only the client know what's going on, but you're letting the realtor partner know what's going on. So, hey, we got your 1040 forms in. Everything looks really good. Underwriter said they're clear. We only have that LOE that we still need, and then we got to we've got something with the appraisal we've got to deal with, whatever it is. But you're updating them on the individual's part of the loan process. So when you re-record the video, you're keeping it in motion. You're keeping it in motion the entire way. They've got basically videos going from start to finish of their loan process, so they're always in the know. Now the second thing is it's really more technical reason for why you would want to record over it versus deleting it, and that's that you guys may have noticed it takes a while for a video to get over to the mobile app. When you record a video here inside Edge, this video is recorded in a browser. It's a Flash video. And some of you may have heard that bad word before, Flash. Your iPhone cannot support Flash. So what this means is that when you record a video here in the browser, we have a job on our servers that looks for all new videos and converts it to a format that your mobile device can read. That process takes about 30 minutes in some cases. So if you were to go and delete a video in the browser, it will not delete the video on the mobile app. So that's my secondary reason for always overwrite the video. Even if it's something like, hey, thanks for all your help in this transaction process. I think we're good to go now, but hey, if anybody else wants to see a presentation like this, my numbers are up here in the corner. Give me a call. Leave the video on it. That way you don't have to delete it. It's still out there. So if somebody does happen to share your link, they've still got your advice following the report. All right, so I'm done looking at myself for now. Mike's question, he says, is it possible to add realtor contact info and picture at the top of a presentation? So on a total cost analysis, it is not possible to do that. There's just not room for the branding. And I'll show you what I mean when we go to the print job, because we do have to consider it. Even though I discourage printing at all levels, we do have to consider that these do get printed, and there's just isn't room. These fields in particular can stretch out right next to the logo, and if you've got rather lengthy licensing, which I know a lot of you do, some of it, I know that some of you are required to do more than just put an NMLS number. Sometimes it's licensed by the Pennsylvania Department of Banking, which is going to be really, really long, and it's far too long, basically, is what it boils down to. So that's actually why in the beginning of the call, when Harlow was asking about, how to work with the new realtor partners, what do? Send them two presentations. One is going to be the open house flyer that does have that co-branding on it. It does have the realtor's image. It does have the realtor's contact information. The other one is send the client version of this so they can see what you're delivering to your clients. But again, make sure during the video, cross-sell the hell out of them. All right. So hopefully that helps there, Mike. Let me know if you need any further clarification on that one. Now we've got about 10 minutes left, so I want to show you something that I thought of this a while back, and it might actually be of use to you guys. And that is, I get coming across the support desk quite often. I've delivered a TCA to my borrower, or I've created a TCA for my borrower, but I think it's just too much information for this person. It's not that I don't want them to see all this information. I think that it's just flooding them and they're not going to understand it. And of course, you guys are the best gauge of your clients. You know what they're going to relate to and what they're not. On the Tuesday coaching call, they were talking about millennials and obviously this type of presentation is very attractive for them and they want to see all the information. You're working with an engineer. He's going to want to see all the numbers. That's great. But what if you're working with somebody that, you already know is more the creative mind? That's really going to benefit from the graphic representation, but they don't really need to know how much your notary fee is. Now, in a case like that, what I came up with is you can actually build a partner report that's co-branded with, say, your loan origination assistant, or you don't even have to co-brand it with a partner. In this case, it can be something that you just send out to a client. So what you would do is do a new partner, and the partner name here, remember, this is usually going to be a realtor partner, but what I'm producing in this case is I'm producing just a quick quote that has my information on the left, my loan origination assistant on the right, and it doesn't have the borrower name at all. So all I'm doing is I'm creating an open house flyer with 4 different quotes on it with my branding only at the bottom. So mine and my LOA. Now, I called this the quick quote. And the reason is it's very cursory information that comes out of this. So let me show you what I mean by this. So first name is going to be my assistant. So, and you put her phone number in there, his phone number in there. Sorry about that. I did not mean to be gender specific there. And then we're not going to select a type at all. Referred by, if you want, you can put this in here. Certainly helpful to know who referred somebody to you. But friendly name, I'm actually going to call this one quick quote for Michael Smith. And the street address, populate this in there. Why not? Oops. Now, asking price, property details, you can put these in there if you want. It's actually kind of a cool thing to put in there. So let's say it's a $300,000 house, 2,000 square feet, and we'll say it's a 3 and 2. And if you want, you can actually even go in and select all the features. It's got a 2-car garage, central heat and air, and you can select custom features to show. So FHA eligible, low down payment, whatever you want to put here. Once you've got your features done, you're going to want to put a property image in there. So you can go and browse for an image. And let's see if I've got any images on this new computer. Hey, I think I do. And none of them are property images. So I'm going to put a rate watch image. There we go. But you're going to put a property image in here. Then you're going to load in the different products that this person qualifies for. So let's say FHA 3.5% down. I'll put in my 3.5. Tag this as yes, it is FHA. And let's say that my rate I can get is 4.5 on a 30-year term. I'm going to pull in one of my closing cost templates. So let's see, let's do this one. Modify my loan origination because it is going to be different on that. Apply it to the loan. I'm going to pop in my upfront MIP percentage, and then I'm going to finance that into the loan. So that's going to increase my LTV to 98.1 from the 96.5. Put in my monthly hazard and taxes. Make sure to get my mortgage insurance in there. Remember, government loans, you always want to check this box and put the 360 here. So it has to carry for the life of the loan. Then I'm going to add a secondary product, and this one's going to be a conventional. So I'll just copy from the FHA. I'll untick the FHA box, change my down payment percentage, change my rate. Maybe it's a little bit higher rate that I can get on that one. And I'll call this one conventional 10% down. Because I copied, all my fees came over. Don't have to worry about those. I do need to modify the mortgage insurance, however. I'm going to uncheck the Calc MI unbalance, and I'm going to remove the minimum number of months. Now I've got 2 products on there. When I get to the contact area, this is the contact area for your origination assistant. So you're going to put the same company name. So my company. And you can fill out all the facts, cell phones, all that kind of good stuff. Assistant at myco.com. And if your assistant has licensing, you can put it in there, or you can actually use this field for, say, a tagline or something like that. You kind of put whatever you want in there. And then give yourself another shout out for your website there. And if you want, you can even list the street address again. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd probably leave that one blank. Now this part is where you upload a headshot and a logo for your assistant. So you would browse for your assistant's photos, And let's see here. Oh, let's use Jabron. He's always fun. And then we'll get a logo in there. Oh, that's not what I want. Let's use a benchmark logo. That looks pretty good. And then you're going to prepare an open house. So give it a title, whatever you want it. Call it Your Quick Quote if you like. And this is your pricing label. And then these are your payment notes area. So these are property and payment notes. So again, payments shown include property taxes and hazard insurance. And actually, I might even want to disclose that they also include mortgage insurance. There we go. So I've got all my legalese in there. I'm going to make sure and select my image. And again, this would be a property image. Pop a quote date on it and generate your link. Now what this results in is an open house flyer that is actually my branding on the left, my loan origination assistant on the right, along with his or her image, and probably be the same logo. So I would use the greenhouse logo on both sides. And it's just showing the very basic of what these are. You've got an FHA. Here's your loan amount. There's your term. Here's your rate. Here's your payment and your cash to close. You want to see a payment stream on it, you can click on that guy. On the 10%, same thing. We're just showing very cursory information. We're not showing any real long-term effects of either loan, but the payment stream is available so that they can see when MI cuts off. And in this case, you can see it cuts off rather early. We do show an APR on both of these, and you can see that the APR is significantly lower on our conventional loan because it doesn't have to carry that MI for the life of the loan. But pretty simple, straightforward, and there's not a lot of detail. For those people who say it's too much detail for this one particular client, try giving this a shot. Try preparing it as an open house flyer and co-brand it with your assistant, and shoot it out there and see what you think. Let's see Mike's question. He says, does the tax savings on the presentation calculate based on tax bracket and interest only? So what it does, and I can actually show you this in our knowledge base, because there's the full equation in here for you. Well, let's see here. There we go. How is tax benefit calculated? So we actually give you the full equation. We take the tax bracket, we multiply it by the monthly interest, tax bracket by the monthly property tax, and tax bracket by MI if you choose to make it deductible. That one has a checkbox next to it inside Edge, so you would choose to make that deductible or not. Right now it's not deductible, so I would tell y'all leave that checkbox unchecked. They vote on it every year though, so it may be deductible next year. You never know. But your tax benefit is based on taking that tax bracket and multiplying it by the interest and the property tax. So between those, we add those together. That's what gives you your tax bracket for month one. Now, going forward, as we go into the long-term areas inside the presentation, say the 60-month area, we're not just taking this 210 and multiplying it by 60. We're actually taking the cumulative 60 months of interest, multiplying it by the tax bracket, the cumulative 60 months of property tax, multiplied by tax bracket, add those figures together. That's your tax benefit. All right, so we are right at 10 o'clock. Thanks for the great question, Mike. That's a perfect one to leave on. And I think we'll go ahead and wrap for the day. If you have further questions or you run into a problem with any of your presentations, remember, we're always here to help you. We're always behind support@mortgagecoach.com. And you can get to our knowledge base. We've got just about everything in there. And if I'm missing something, tell me about it. I want to get an article in there for you. So let us know if we can help in any way, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone. Take care.